the power pitches. So we start off with ChainMart.io by Richard Hibbert. He's CEO and chairman of ChainMart directly, followed by Suraj Venkat, CEO and founder of Tskagi. I just say Tskagi, okay? You will tell us how we pronounce it correctly afterwards, which is a private, verifiable AI infrastructure. But first, please, applause for Richard Hibbert.
Hi, thanks very much. So we're moving from the very high-tech world of quantum computing and biofeedback to B2B marketplaces. Quite mundane, but very important. And one of the things actually that we want to do is we have a sense of purpose behind the organization. And that is really believe in blockchain is the real key to actually having shared ownership and shared wealth and can be a way of improving, I think, capitalism today. So that's an important thing because we are talking about building a community around this. So I'm Richard Hibbert. I'm founder and CEO of ChainMart. We're building a discovery layer for enterprise blockchain, and that's a market that's growing 3 times faster than SaaS ever did, but only 25% of projects, certainly in the Fortune 500, actually go into production. So that creates a massive gap, and for us that's an opportunity we wish to fill. So in numbers here, no one's disputing the size of enterprise blockchain. These figures, 393 billion by 2030, and I've said, but there's a huge failure in adoptions, and we believe that's because there aren't the discovery platforms or layers to enable that. So that leaves businesses not really understanding enterprise blockchain and not really having a platform to provide trusted vendors to actually then implement solutions. And also that's then, we're looking at the convergence of AI, which simplifies takes away the complexity from blockchain. Mika, simplifying some of the regulatory landscape for businesses, and of course, real-world asset tokenization, creating lots of opportunity to value. So for us, that creates the SaaS opportunity for blockchain. We're at an inflection point. This is the market size from our perspective. This is actually smaller than the wider number. This is actually enterprise blockchain. And ultimately, we're looking at a service obtainable market of 460 million in terms of the trade that would go through our platform. And we've done that by looking at companies that turn over between 1 and 5 billion and actually have a blended way of working how much how much money they're spending on blockchain. So that's between about 100K a year we make it between proof of concepts, pilots, and also the production systems. So it's a big market. So if we look at the adoption funnel, then this data is from Fortune 500, where it's a little bit more realistic, and we see that it's good. The adoption, 60% of organizations are actually exploring blockchain. However, it drops off a little bit. Actually, only 35% of those have active deployments, and then again, it drops off a cliff where we have 25% of companies that fail to actually get the project into production. So if you look at SaaS if you look at SaaS, it took 15 years for enterprise SaaS to go from a adoption rate of 30% to 94%, but that spawned a $50 billion industry around research companies like Gartner and Forrester and platforms like G2 Analytics and Capterra. That doesn't exist today. And so the company that builds it doesn't just serve that market, it actually shapes that market. So this is what we found, the biggest barriers to progress are today, that 60% of companies or organizations cite that lack of blockchain understanding is the biggest barrier to implementation, to progress. There's also this idea that, and I see it all the time, coming from a Web 2 world, quite new to crypto and blockchain, that it's synonymous. It's what crypto is blockchain, which is clearly not the case at all. And 48% of CEOs admit lacking the skills to manage blockchain adoption. And we boil it down to there's a vendor gap. The vendors in the space talk a lot about technology. They also communicate with things like Telegram and Discord, which enterprises just don't. They don't talk in that language at all and use those tools. In terms of what we're building, it's actually a marketplace that goes beyond just a directory listing. We're looking at a marketplace that goes from insight to order. So it's actually combining different product categories today. So the analyst companies like Gartner with the ratings companies like G2 with the the vending machines, if you like, the marketplaces. So that's the place where we fit. From a solution point of view, we're the only business today that plans to join all those three capabilities together. So we're actually engaging really experienced authorities in the blockchain field to write content for us on our platform to educate the business. That content is actually following a buyer journey. So we have top of funnel content, which is about education, understanding where the value in blockchain is, to lower down the funnel where you're looking at proof points. In the middle there, we connect both the businesses and the vendors by providing, yes, we've got directory listings, and we also have storefronts, but we also have a thing called the orbit, which actually maps the various blockchain market categories into an orbit where the highest adopting companies are in the center of the orbit. That's a really powerful tool to not only for businesses to find the right vendor. It also means that the vendors in the marketplace too can define micro markets, so they can focus their marketing activity on the places where they can win. And the final piece of the jigsaw for us is the on-chain element, where we want to actually allow people to transact on the platform with things like escrow services and also payments. This slide is really about the community. And the reason we can do this is because blockchain is a niche, and enterprise blockchain is a niche, and it has a community with a common purpose. That's what I've found, that everyone wants to try and further blockchain for the good. So in this community, we have various people. We've got creators who are writing the content for us, who are rewarded with a token of ours, the ChainMart. We have that then creates education and demand for businesses. They can start understanding the value in blockchain, which then translates into vendors selling them solutions. A percentage of the fees from those solutions we then feed back into the reward system. So you get this self-perpetuating circle, if you like. So it accelerates and grows the market. And ultimately, it's the market size, the marketplace that captures the value. The revenue architecture is designed to allow small companies to participate with either zero or very low charges, but actually takes money off the table in the big accounts. And we do that by a basic platform fee, but also usage fees that grow with the value that you take out of the system. And this is a slide really just showing then why we win and what's our moat in this market. And we talked about the various players. We have those companies that have research and content, like the Gartners and the Forresters. There's the cap tiers that we call the sort of ratings companies, and then you've got the marketplaces where you transact, like the AWSs and the Salesforces. So we do all those three things, and that gives us the structural position in the marketplace. I've talked about the timing, the inflection point, because of the wave of interest and regulatory changes that brings to blockchain. Content is also a moat. We want to be the destination site for enterprise content, enterprise blockchain content, and finally, that network effect. This is our go-to-market strategy. So we actually launched in mid-January, the platform, and we anticipate having around about 250. Actually, before I talk about that, let's just talk about the strategy. It's first of all to build up the supply side. That's creators with content, and it's also the vendors. Once we've done that, we will focus on the demand side. So very much now we're looking at recruiting vendors and creators with the content. And by the first half of the year, we expect to have 250 vendors, which we can start monetizing with really low fees. By the end of the year, we expect that to be around about $500,000 ARR in revenue. And then the following 2 years, we believe we can get something like between 3 and 6 million respectively in ARR. So this is our transaction today. It's modest, but so we've signed up 50 plus vendors. We have 50 plus content pieces. We've actually spent the last 16 months building a platform that's production and basically the directory services and the content creation, the ability to search content. We have also developed in parallel with that on-chain services too. So we are testnet with Avalanche, and we expect that to come too. We've had some really good feedback from vendors that are on the platform. So we have VeChain, for example, and lots of really positive endorsements from the various blockchain societies. Proven leaders. So my background, by the way, is enterprise software. I've been doing it for 35 years. I've founded and sold about 3 companies. The last company I sold had an enterprise value of 75 million. It was a risk management company. Mark Roos, as CTO, and is also a hacker and a coder. He's got years of experience. The 2 guys, Matthew Wood-Thatcher and Luke Sullivan, are responsible for me coming out of retirement to do this. And Luke is quite interesting because he's a guy who still picks up a phone to try and get in touch with customers, potential customers and prospects, which is a rare thing. Some of you may know Claire, who's a sort of veteran in Web3 marketing. In 10 years is a sort of veteran status in this business, and has spent a career in enterprise PR. So what we're asked, our ask is 3 to 5 million. It's a big number. It's a big variation in number, and that's down to how we achieve those rates of adoption that I've laid out. And so depending on that, we will vary the price that we're asking for. We've actually raised $340,000 so far, which will take us to June. And the idea with that first raise was to get us to a platform and prove that people are willing to spend money on this, which we've achieved. Thank you. Hey!